Tonchi Weaver's back with us, and just for those of you who may not have tuned in before, Tonchi Weaver is a conservative activist. She's a Tea Party patriot, card-carrying Republican, I think.
I believe I have been for several years.
Well, yeah, well, since you've been old enough to vote, that's not been that long.
No. I spent 20 years as a Democrat.
Oh, that's right. That's right. You and Ronald Reagan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, you know, we're talking about some things before we turned the cameras on. One of them was Omnibus Bills.
Bull.
That's, yeah, bull is right.
Yeah, well, there's
and
a
some would
Freudian
call them,
slip.
Some would call them ominous bills. But define for our listeners, what is an omnibus bill?
Well, an omnibus bill is basically a bill that has such a broad topic that you can put a whole lot of stuff under it. It's a big umbrella, and they shove a lot of stuff in there that may or may not be directly related.
We could almost say it is like an ability to include earmarks.
That's right.
Kind of.
That's right. Well, and certain things, you know, our Constitution, our state Constitution, requires that every bill be dealing with just one subject, and it should be reflected in its title.
To the topic.
Right. But if you make the title broad enough, and I'll use an example of Senate Bill 70. It was one that had a lot of support in this year's legislature, but Senate Bill 70 was called a criminal justice bill, but the topic was public safety. Now that's a pretty broad topic. You could also include under that topic crosswalks and traffic lights, but those things weren't in there. There were a lot of other things pertaining to how we handle the disposition of prisoners in our state. There were even things in that bill in Section 71 that addressed the legislative amendment process and the people's right of initiative.
It was a big bill, wasn't it?
Yes.
And what it allows people to do in the legislature and the administration is to slip things under the table without really being that obvious.
Yeah.
Am I close?
Oh, nothing like a visual. Yes, you are close. You're right on.
Well, in South Dakota, it's not much different than it is at the federal level.
No, we hear about omnibus bills all the time in Washington, and that's one of the things that has inspired such disdain among the citizens of our country. They know what's going on with these bills that you stack that high.
You put so much in there that nobody knows.
Nobody reads
and
it.
That's why our girl Nancy could say, we have to pass the bill before we find out what's in the bill.
Right, who could possibly read all that beforehand?
God help us.
And you know, and these bills that we are passing are lengthy bills. Senate Bill 70 was, I believe, 33 pages.
You know, one of the favorite lines that I recall from my time in the legislature was, this is just a cleanup bill.
Oh, I love that language. Yeah, we must have the filthiest law in the country because we're always getting cleanup.
If we don't, we're on our way to having the filthiest. Well, isn't it time to do some laundry?
You know, I think that it probably is, and we need to look at the way legislation is being written and who is writing the legislation. I had a conversation with a legislator this session pointing things out in a bill that had to do with the mentally ill, and it was very restrictive. It almost came to the point where a mentally ill person wouldn't be able to even have a kitchen knife, you know. And the legislator said, "Oh, that's not in there." Until I turned to it and read what it said. That's in my bill? So that makes me wonder, okay, if you don't know what's in your bill,
and you're the prime sponsor,
who wrote it? And whose talking points are you using to promote it? So we need to be a little more engaged and ask more questions and hopefully get more answers.
Wouldn't that be a wonderful world? These omnibus bills are indeed ominous creatures, and you need to find out what's in them and challenge those things that concern us.